Good morning. I'm Charlotte Jones, co-host of the John Telford Detroit Show, coming to you every Wednesday morning at 10 o'clock on WJZZ Cool TV. Also streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Dr. John Telford is a former Detroit Public Schools superintendent, a former world-class athlete, conqueror of Olympic champions, a championship track coach, poet, newspaper columnist, a longtime civil rights crusader, and author of 7 books: Creative Insubordination, What Old Men Know, The Will Robinson Story, The Poetic Prancings of Mad John, The Poet Emperor of Earth, and his explosive autobiography, A Life on the Run. Plus, another upcoming poetry book, Athletes, Activism, and Apple Boughs, a Detroit poetic epic. His books are available on Amazon.com or by calling 313-460-8272. That's 313-460-8272. Dr. Telford has been called a legend and also a lightning rod for controversy, a recipient of the City Council Spirit of Detroit Award and the Joe Louis Foundation Spirit of the Champ Award. He was named Wayne State University's Alumnus of the Year, and a Detroit track is named for him. His email is drjohntelfordedd@aol.com. That's dr.johntelfordedd@aol.com. Dr. Telford also has a show on WCHB AM 1340 that airs on Saturdays at 9:30 in the morning and Mondays at 6:30 in the evening. That's on WCHB AM 1340, Saturdays at 9:30 a.m. and Mondays at 6:30 p.m. And now, without further ado, I present to you that old native Detroiter, the one and only Dr. John Telford.
Thank you, Char J, author Char J, otherwise known as Charlotte Jones, author of A Ain't Always for Apple. And she is struggling to get that book out of her bag because we both forgot to pick it up. My name is Detroit. I'm a blue-collar town. Oh, here's the book. Here's the book. Here's the book. A Ain't Always for Apple. An erotic adult alphabet book. An erotic adult alphabet book. A Ain't Always for Apple. Written by author Char J. My name is Detroit. I'm a blue-collar town. Blue salt melts my mid-March snow. Speedy cars and sprinters spring from me. I father fierce fighters and funky music. In a Motown moment, I can spit the blues right back in a bureaucrat's eye. Have you never seen blue salt? No complex chemistry here, only the old color of a new sky. And there's a new sky dawning on Detroit today because we have got Reverend Horace Sheffield in the studio today. Reverend Horace Sheffield.
Welcome.
And you know, there's a poem that I'm going to read that reminds me of Reverend Horace Sheffield, and it's called The Values of Verse. I love to read this poem. Verse comes to us by pen or voice. We thus can always take our choice. Let me be also sure to mention that verse will gain us righteous vengeance via deft poetic arts that can topple oligarchs. Verse will clearly, plainly lay out what we poets dare to say out. Like gentle, mewling lambs, no more, but rather with a fearsome roar, as from some cacophonic core of lions. Lions, and we've got a lion in the station today, a lion in the person of Reverend Dr. Horace Sheffield. But before I introduce him, I have got to mention that this week, last week, we were supposed to have had Joel Selentine at the station. Now, Joel Selentine was a state high school half-mile champion, Joel was. And he ran for me when I was coaching at the University of Detroit when we won the conference, largely thanks to Joel Selentine and some very fast young men from Detroit. But Joel came to pick me up to come to the station last week, and in the meantime, I had been sitting and I got soaking wet with sweat, and I totally soaked my shirt through, and I had been pooping blood out of my rectum.
John, you're sharing too much. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, we're glad he told us where it came from. We thought it might have come from another orifice.
It came from my rectum. It came from my anus. My anus. A-N-U-S. And you know, the toilet bowl looked like
Okay,
it
John.
looked like tomato juice.
So anyway.
I mean, they're telling you never tell me not to enlarge because you know what I'll do. I'll start enlarging.
Stop
But,
talking.
but anyway, I said to Joel, we ain't going to do the show today. We are going to the emergency room, and that's where we went. And I was there for 3 days, and they got me stabilized. So I'm here this morning, a little weak from loss of blood. Other than that, I'm okay. And
I'm glad you're okay.
Until I get that operation, you know what they do.
Yeah.
But I won't. Tell
Please
you
don't.
About, no, okay.
Please don't.
Okay. But and you know, next week we are going to have Audrey Anderson on. She's an advocate for citizens returning from prison. That'll be April the 5th. That's going to be a good one. You know, the person who recommended her was one of the many guys who's calling me from prison because I failed with them. This particular one was the brother of my second wife, Gina, and he has recommended her. He's been in touch with her. So, Reverend Horace Sheffield, who is in charge of many things. Oh, and also he is the father of the council president, Mary Sheffield, who has done a great service for the citizens of Detroit. Unfortunately, she's the only one on the council who did. You want to talk about that a little bit? What did she vote, Horace? Talk about it.
How did she vote?
What
She
was
voted
she voting on?
Well, she voted on the district plan, and you know I have a slightly different opinion about it, by the way.
Oh, you
But
do?
I thought that all people will know is that she voted against it, when in reality, all day yesterday, things that were not in it that were supposed to be were included because of her.
Oh, they were? Okay.
Oh yeah, there was a significant amount of things that they said were in it that wasn't.
Because I was telling everybody to vote against
But she caught it. Then in addition to that, she negotiated $130 million additional dollars, and I felt like but she's her own person. I felt like I felt like at the end of the day, and I understand her concerns with the Illages. This is Ross's deal along with them. So some of the things that people were angry about really need to be addressed with the Illages. But at the end of the day, she got far more because of her. And they kept going back and adding. At some point, I would have said, look, I didn't get it all, and I'm going to go vote on it. But the Detroit Free Press yesterday ended by saying that we'll see who was wrong and who was right on this deal.
And the news was for it. The news is going to be for anything that's for the. But we saw this kind of as a reverse Robin Hood. Rob from the poor and give to the rich.
Well, I think here's where I'm at, and this is the conversation I have with my daughter, because a lot of times what we do, John, Charge, is that we oppose things as opposed to crafting policy to address what we want to see happen.
Right.
So we've had from Coleman Young this notion that somehow or another we build downtown, the neighborhoods would follow. But in that 40 plus years, neighborhoods that used to be nice are not. Those that were stable are gone. And so why not, as I've said to my daughter, put forth some kind of ordinance, some kind of plan where you're saying from this point forward, any tax credits, any funds for development now must be focused and identify areas. For example, I grew up on Collingwood between Dexter and Wildermere. if you do something with Dexter, if you go from, you can go from the Boulevard if you want to, or you can go from Joy Road. If you do something with Dexter and Linwood, now you have a neighborhood where people been living there 50 years that can be transformed immediately, and it's between Russell Woods, it's between Chicago Edison, Chicago Boston, whatever Boston Edison area, whatever. But I'm just saying we don't have a plan still for how city resources are going to go, and they call them legacy Detroiters. I call them generational residents, people who've never left. And so, other than that, we're going to keep coming with these projects, community benefits agreements, but the direction of how we spend our money has not been steered toward neighborhood development and toward long-term residents. That's what I would love to see happen.
I certainly hope it will, because they tore down my house at 602 116th Street.
Well, John, let me tell you something. I'm on Grand River, Wyoming, and there's not a lot of houses left in the land bank, and I have whites that have moved on Kentucky and Grand River. They're buying everything they can buy. And there was a piece in the paper today where they're saying that black folks are the ones leaving Detroit.
Right.
And an alarming number.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, my house is gone on 16th Street. My grandparents' house is gone on 16th Street. My other grandparents' house is gone on 12th Street.
Yeah.
And matter of fact, my backyard on 16th Street is the playground for the new McMichael.
Okay.
Michael
Yeah,
Middle School.
my
My dog's buried in that playground. I know right where my dog is.
How about that?
Because he got
Roof,
shot.
roof.
Yeah. But anyway.
Well, I grew up, by the way, in two places. My grandparents had a house on Hazlet between Milford and Tarman. There was a black business strip on Milford, Tabernacle Baptist Church, Hartford, great neighborhood. That probably is one of the worst and most decimated communities you could ever see. My grandparents moved in a house in 1921. We sold that house in 1994. That's how long we owned that property.
Wow.
And factory workers.
I knew your father, by the way.
Yeah. And I mean, people know my father. My granddaddy was something to be reckoned with too, though.
He started the whole
50
show.
years in Fords and the foundry, many years before there was a union.
Right.
Yeah, people would come home, eat, done, and die.
Yeah. Well, we got the union strength again now, because we got Democrats, running the government in Michigan, and they just voted to get rid of this right to work plan, which is a right to work for slave wages, is what it was.
Right. And then the UAW now, under its new leadership, is poised to really make these car companies work for a contract.
Amen.
We'll see what happens.
Amen. I'm a union member again for first time in 4 decades.
Solidarity forever. I was churned in the crucible of the labor and civil rights movement.
Detroit Federation of Teachers. I'm a member.
Yeah, Mary Ellen Reardon.
I've been a member
Bless
since
her heart.
Yeah, Mary Ellen, man.
I mean, you could not tell the fight that was in her by looking at her.
Oh, man,
But that was a fighter.
You got that right.
Yeah.
You got that right.
Yeah.
I could talk about Mary Ellen forever.
Yeah, I could too, man.
Yeah.
I'm just blessed to have known all those people. And that's the tragedy where we are now. Can I just give my little quick editorial?
You sure can.
That Detroit with 50% black population, restrictive covenants and all the legal things that shackled us, did more and had more than we do with 80%.
That's right. I mean, and it was also, I was talking about sprinters and boxers. We had Joe Louis, we had Sugar Ray Robinson, probably two of the greatest fighters who ever lived.
Right.
Sugar Ray Robinson was the greatest fighter who ever lived. Yeah. We had Henry Carr, came out of Detroit Northwestern High School, same school I came out of, although I got put out of there.
So my dad graduated.
Oh yeah, right.
Big NO.
Oh yeah, he was
with the artillery.
The cannon.
I went to Northwestern too.
How about that? But so much about that Detroit is just gone. Just gone. My dad and I both went to Sampson Elementary School.
Yeah, I went to Esterbrook. It was over on Linwood and McGraw.
Yeah.
Had the fire escape. You slide down. We used to have fun.
You remember Rucker's ice cream over there on McGraw?
Oh yeah, I remember all that.
Oh man.
I was in that house from 1936 to when I got put out of Northwestern. Got sent to live with my father. Ended up at Denby. I graduated from Denby, which by the way was all white then.
Oh well, it was practically all white when I was in high school. Those are the schools where riots occurred when there was a desegregation order. Redford, Denby, Finney.
Yeah, Finney. She went to Finney.
Yeah.
You need to come back and we can talk civil rights one day, but
Yeah.
you
Okay.
gonna
Oh,
miss what
absolutely.
you
Give me
came
on
here to
time.
talk
Yeah,
about,
yeah,
right?
okay, yeah,
What is Dabo? D-A-B-O.
Dabo.
Dabo is
Yeah.
how we pronounce it.
The
'Cause-
Detroit Association of Black Organizations. My dad organized a lot of organizations over the years, and just felt that as other ethnic minority communities had federations that pulled their organization together, pooled their resources, one needed to be in Detroit as well. And so it was a coming together of, civic, fraternal, political organizations all under one umbrella. And the notion is that we come up with some consensus about what needs to be addressed, and then we all, even though we have particular programs that may address teen pregnancy, may address, discrimination in banking, we all are basically working together on those things we think are most critical.
So what you're doing is you're pulling each individual, or so your group one group may want to do literacy, and one group may want to do teen pregnancy, and one group may want to do civil unrest. You're putting them all together under one umbrella.
Yeah, I
Is that
mean,
what that
and
is?
they should do what they've been called to do.
Okay.
But there's some things that affect all of us. While teen pregnancy is important, or redlining is important, there's some things that affect African Americans. The Jewish community councils, was it B'nai Birth or the Jewish Defense League, radical integrationists, segregation, all come together under one umbrella.
Okay.
And they every year come up with 2 or 3 things that they think that every Jew and every Jewish organization ought to be addressing. Now, you're still free to do whatever you want to do, but at the end of the day, this is how we judge our progress, whether all of us gave some kind of expression to or contribution toward those things that they deem to be most critical to their survival. And we've not had that. I mean, quite frankly, most of our organizations compete with one another.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is the thing, and I want to make sure I'm understanding what you're saying. So you get a young girl, she's pregnant, she's 15, she has to drop out of school. Now she's got a baby. She didn't finish high school, so now she can't read. She's illiterate. She can't get a job. Then she can't get a job. She can't make money. She can't get a place to live. So she's living in a project or something like that. And this is all these issues that she have could eventually go to this organization. But you're trying to find or put it all together to where she comes to one place and gets.
Well, I'm saying is that the human service is the one thing.
Right.
But those things which affect the survival and the well-being of the black community, we need to address together.
Okay.
Whether you're working on civil rights or trying to stem teen pregnancy or dealing with banks that discriminate against black entrepreneurs, those are individual issues that capacity needs to be built with all those organizations to address. But at the end of the day, black folks are treated differently or discriminated against in a variety of different ways, and we need to address what those are that we have in common. You follow me?
I follow. Okay.
What else does Davo do?
Well, we have radio and TV programs. Media's certainly important to get the word out.
What program is that?
Well, we're on WADL. We're on 910. We're on the Word Network. We have a variety, and then we have our own platforms. In fact, we're in the process, and the new center named after my sister is building the studio.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about that.
First class studio. But we also we have housing. We have senior programs. We have drug prevention programs. We have a clinic that we started that is in our building now. That's a subsidiary of ours. That we've gotten funding from Tom Frieden, the former director of CDC, from major other companies, and we've done a lot of great work in that area. In fact, there's something going on over there right now, testing people for a variety of illnesses.
Oh, good. When does your show air?
I'm every Saturday from 8 to 10. I have a live show in my building. We serve biscuits, grits, and salmon croquettes. And then the TV show is 12:30 p.m. on Sundays on WADL.
Every Saturday from 8 to 10.
8 to 10 biscuits, grits, and salmon croquettes.
I can't get over there because you're competing with me. Every Saturday from 9:30 to 10, I'm on WCHB.
Well, we're not competing. We're just doing comparable things.
You got that right because
the same time.
we got the same goals.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take a moment right now to introduce Miss V, Miss Virginia Starkey, Miss V, who is the proprietress of V's Boutique for Ladies over at East Outer Drive and Warren, right around the corner from one of the few libraries that's still open, right around the corner from the Alger Theater. And she's going to tell you a little bit about her boutique and how you can get some of that fine women's apparel.
Is her book in there?
My book is my book in it. No, that's
Oh, it should
she
be there.
clothes.
Okay.
She sells clothes.
Okay. Yeah, but he's sexy.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. All right.
You're right.
Hey, you know what? This book and that book's gonna be
That's a
in there.
good thing. Okay.
Let me put this
I
up
wouldn't have
here.
thought of
Let me put this book's gonna be in there. This book just came out. It is my second book of poetry called Athletes, Activism, and Apple Bombs. A Detroit poetic epic. Now it's a little bit PG rated. I got to tell you that.
A lot of his stuff is. Just
Oh
saying.
yeah.
I'm just saying.
But you know, well, I didn't come here to talk about this book today, but I
But
want
you know, you should change the last line and it would fit to her what she sells. It should be apple bottoms.
Yeah. Too late, Horace. It's already been published.
I got you.
It just been published. Go ahead, V.
Good morning, all. My name is Virginia Starkey. I'm the owner of V's Boutique at
Speak up.
16423
Speak up.
East Warren Avenue, between East Outer Drive and Alter Road, next door to the Alger Theater. I've been in business for over 25 years. I sell clothing, women's apparel, jewelry, accessories. I make appointments if necessary. And if you want to make an appointment, you can call 248-662-6622. Again, this is V's Boutique. I would look forward to the well-appreciated telephone calls for appointments.
Thank you, Ms. V, for that advertisement in your most melodious voice. I was kind of hoping you'd yell a little bit, like you yell sometimes.
Like
but
she acting like she's shy.
Yeah.
Be sexy
she
with
is
Miss V. Is it V or B?
V.
V.
Be
Virginia.
sexy in Miss V's.
Miss V. Hey, you got a new logo.
Slogan.
Slogan. Be sexy. And that number again
There
was.
goes your book.
Yeah, you're right.
And that number again was 248-662-6622. If you want to make an appointment with Miss V, call that number. 248-662-6622. V's Boutique for Ladies. And we are interviewing the great Reverend Horace Sheffield on the show today. And he's been telling us about Dabo. Is there anything else we need to say about
What does
about
DABO stand for? Let's just
Detroit so go ahead, John.
Detroit Association of Black Organizations.
Okay.
That's it. That's what it is. And we've got several properties over there. Our buildings are available for use. The main building, which was our first one on Grand River, Wyoming, connected with a lot. Now we have a second building which we purchased, beautiful building. We have a assisted chair to go down and up, and we just bought a parking lot and a bunch of land on the side. So we have a lot of black organizations that meet there, fraternities, sororities, Panhellenic group meets there, community groups meet there, and it's a great place to have your meetings.
So how many programs do you actually have over there?
We have a ton of programs.
Ton of programs.
I mean, it's my vision is to be all things to all people according to their need.
Good.
And I've told my staff over the last several years, I don't want to send anybody anywhere because they may not be treated there as they are here. I don't see people as statistics. I'm a pastor, so I see people burdened and in need, and I feel it's our responsibility to do everything we can to help them. Now, I do take a different approach that I don't want to be a Band-Aid. I want to be a bomb in Gilead, because people come for the same things all the time, and so I really want to help people to help themselves. And so I kind of direct them towards some form of self-sufficiency if I'm able to. You know, John, most of the people who come to us in crisis have some kind of drug problem, drug or alcohol problem. And so that's why we've gotten into the prevention field. We're licensed by Detroit Wayne Integrative Health Network. We do suicide prevention. In fact, we did a major presentation for HHS and all of its employees most recently. Secretary Becerra, we had about 7,000 folks on the call. And so, you know, if you can help people free themselves, you know, free people act differently. You know, when you're a slave to crack or opioids. And by the way, my senior program is very interesting because we have an adult day program where my seniors do every day. 40% of my seniors used to go to the casino every day. They don't go anymore.
Good.
Wonderful.
Balm and Gilead. Where do you pastor?
New Destiny Christian Fellowship.
Where is that?
Right in the same complex. So everything is right there on Grand River. In Wyoming, you come there, and you can get help and get healed.
Yeah. You know, I'm the poet in residence.
I could tell.
One of my many things, you know, that I do. I'm poet in residence for the Detroit Public Schools. I was at Southeastern for 3 years, which is my old school where I used to coach track. But then they put me at Frederick Douglass.
Mm-hmm.
I go around to the high schools to do my poetry, but Frederick Douglass, my home school. First year I was there was last year, and I personally talked a kid out of killing himself.
Yeah.
I mean, these teenage kids, we're really, since the COVID, it seems they got worse, but they are at incredible risk.
Yeah, and the numbers among young people are higher than anything else. Bullying has something to do with that, shaming people. I just did a commentary yesterday that I taped. I won't give you the full extent of it, but you know, I basically with these mass shootings, said, we need to figure out how to stop putting guns in the hands of people. But it's a morass because even though people we may know are sick, doesn't mean they've been adjudicated as having mental illness, which means they can still buy a gun, or they may be on the precipice of that.
You can get a gun anywhere if you want to.
You know, I know you
run a corner and get a damn
So
gun.
I'm talking to you folks who want to hurt somebody else. I said, I know you're sad. I know people mistreat you. I know you're going through something. But, you know, do me a favor. If you just got to do this, kill yourself. Don't take nobody with you.
I was thinking that.
I
wasn't going to say it, but I didn't think
don't-
you was going to say it
I
either.
said it. It's all out there on social media right now. I mean, I don't want you to do it. Let me help you. But help. But don't take nobody with you. I mean, you know,
We
it's just
got an epidemic
little
as
young
you know.
kids, man.
I know, babies. And,
They're shooting
you know.
each other. They're shooting each other. It isn't really anything new, though. I can remember way back when I was at Finney, my second tour when I was doing at Finney, and that was in the first part of this century. You know, I had a kid that I was working with, and we finally got the kid turned around, and he got killed in a drive-by by a bullet that was meant for his brother. There were a few times I really cried, man. His name was Jamal. But anyway.
Violent society, man.
Oh, you got that. And I wrote about that in the Detroit Native Sun. My book is still in the stands, but there's a thing in there. It's got a big
I mean,
bullet
a drive-by is different, though, John.
Yeah.
We're talking about this woman the other day walked into a school.
Yeah, I know.
This is where I'm going to learn. You shouldn't have to worry about being killed at school.
Yeah.
So, I mean.
And I think
you know.
to be honest with you, I wonder whether all the attention that we give this,
I think so, too.
that it further fuels, other folks, because they get all kinds of attention. I mean, the moment it happens, every news truck in the nation goes there.
Yeah. And can draw imitators.
Right, and then it got me on this one, the young African American girl who was, I guess, her friend, who was contacted on social media before it happened. Now she's positioned herself for all these interviews. You know, I mean, and you said nothing about it till it was after.
That's right.
So she should be held accountable.
Well, I mean, at least
As well.
She
You
tried
knew
to
it was
contact somebody. I think she did.
Did she?
Oh,
Okay.
okay. You're watching the Dr. John Telford Detroit Show, live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, and other top social media platforms. Like us, follow us, share us, and comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching WJZZ. Trying to do two things at once. Thank you for watching WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. And I want to say we are having a day at the races. Let me get this open. Presented by WJZZ Adventurers Club. Come and enjoy the sport of kings while sipping traditional mint julep cocktails, dancing, and meeting new friends. The Kentucky Derby race will be televised, followed by a live fabulous jazz concert. Special discounts offered exclusively to members of any of our WJZZ brand clubs. And to become a member of one of our clubs, visit our website, WJZZDetroitRadio.com. Tickets are $75. That's May 6th, a Saturday from 5 to 9. You can get your hats, ladies, you can get your hats at V's Boutique. She is offering, what was it, a 15% discount if you mention WJZZ. Okay, so come on out. I got a new dress. We're going to be all in that day. I got a big hat. I'm ready.
And where's that going to be?
At the Detroit Yacht Club.
That's what
I'm
I
sorry.
thought he told me I'm supposed to set it up.
Okay, the Detroit Yacht Club,
Okay.
y'all. It's
All
going
right.
to be nice. Food is available, drinks, cash bar. So come on out. Have a good time.
And we are interviewing the Reverend Dr. Horace Sheffield on the John Telford Detroit Show on WJZZ, Cool TV. And Horace, I want to ask you, are there any literacy programs?
Oh, yeah.
What
Yeah,
are
well,
they?
you know, at one point, John, we had an alternative high school program that was very successful. So we do adult basic education. We do English as a second language. We have reading programs for kids. We have the Brown. Oh God, what's it called? I forget. We just brought a group into our umbrella that's what they do specifically. I think it's called the Brown Explorers.
Oh.
And so we have children's books set up everywhere. We do readings with them. I've had programs, and you know, it's always cyclical because the funds run out. Where we actually had a reading specialist where people could bring their kids where their children were having problems, kind of putting those building blocks together. You know, in typical public education now, sometimes it's difficult to really give a child the attention that they need. In fact, my daughter, who's president of city council, was in the cathedral school right here on Woodward and Warren, and she was in the second grade, and her whole personality had changed, and the teacher, rather than figure out what was wrong, put her in front of the class. I mean, put more pressure on her. I took her to Lynn Masters. I don't know if you know Lynn Masters.
The name rings a
Lynn
bell.
Masters, she's marvelous. She's a reading specialist, and I'm thinking my daughter maybe has some kind of reading disability.
Dyslexia or something.
She says no, Reverend Sheffield. She says she's just not been taught how to read, and she spent almost 6 months in sessions. And my daughter graduated from college in 2.5 years, accepted to law school. I can go on and on and on. But we don't have. When I was in Detroit Public Schools, I started in 1959 at Roosevelt. I mean, reading was everything, and teachers took time. I mean, we just having a debate about handwriting. I mean, handwriting was on those green sheets, with the lines.
I don't think they do that anymore.
Yeah, it's
That's
great.
right.
I always
Cursive
tell.
reading. We're not teaching cursive reading.
No,
We're
writing,
not teaching
right.
phonics. We're not teaching
No,
traditional
A-E-I-O-U
grammar.
and sometimes Y.
Hey,
Yeah.
you got it.
Dangling participles. We
None of
had no grammar. We studied grammar.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's
I,
right.
I
Strunk
always,
and right.
I
Yeah.
always tell
Parts
this
of
story
speech,
about it's a teacher. I left the 6th grade not knowing how to multiply, and I won't say his name, but he didn't teach me. He didn't care. He just sat there. I got passed with a D. First day of junior high school, Mr. Whitmore taught me how to multiply.
Yeah.
The very first day,
Yeah.
he
Well,
said,
let me give
all you
homage
have to do.
to Dr. Burton. The last school he had was over there on Joy Road. But I have that Dr. Reed. Almost all my teachers in Roosevelt had PhDs. And of course, at that time, my dad was involved in lifting the prohibition against black. I think Dr. Jesse Kennedy was the first black principal. He was involved in that. But bottom line is, Dr. Burton was my math teacher, and you had those multiplication charts, and you had to know 6 times 6, and I still got it in my hand. I went to Starbucks this morning to buy some latte for my wife, and gave the guy a $20 bill. And he's trying to figure out what my change is. I told him, You know, and I almost tried to teach him how to get there. You know.
And I find that scary. You know, both the mathematics that the kids don't know,
And the reading.
and the reading that they don't know.
Yeah.
That's why I ran for the school board.
Yeah.
But I didn't spend $250,000 the way the incumbents did to get back in, and to do nothing for 4 more
See,
years.
when I was coming up, two things. One is that education took a different role. I mean, it was. In other words, my grandparents, for example, had fourth grade educations. Walked barefoot in the rural South picking cotton. And so the notion of education for us was that it will forever unfit us to be slaves. You know, you're free with education, right? And that it was something you acquired as part of your personal portfolio, not for career advancement, not for wage earning, but for the knowledge itself. You know, we've gotten away from that. Vincent Hardy has a great piece that people ought to revisit every now and then called Education for What? And he gets into this, you know. And so, anyway, Frederick Douglass, when his slave master's husband overheard his wife teaching him how to read, she said, "You forever unfit him to be a slave."
That's what Frederick Douglass
Yeah,
said.
that's a quote. Yep, Frederick Douglass.
Educated man is unfit
Fit to be a
a
slave. Yep.
Yeah.
So now let's get back to this because we're running out of time, and I want to know about how you're honoring your sister.
Well, John knew Dr. LaVon Marie Sheffield.
She was my colleague, my good friend for years, brilliant woman, knew her well, a tragic loss.
Yeah.
Died too soon.
Yeah. And let me put a word in for that because I was the champion of her health care. Flew her here about a week before she passed. Finally had to do what I had to do to take control. My sister died from a urinary tract infection. It's on her death certificate. And this was the second time it happened. The first time she was delirious, you know, her husband died. And so LaVon was very active. She wound up retiring. She had a beautiful home in Georgia. She's sitting around all day. And so when she started being incoherent, I got her to, her own physician never did anything. I only mentioned him. Got her to a trauma facility in Cornelia. Two African doctors found out what it was, put her on a regimen of antibiotics and said, you need to check in with your physician. I'll talk to him, make sure that you continue on some antibiotics for a while. LaVon got so much better, John. She had her knee replaced.
I remember about that.
I'll go down there with her. We go to dinner. We go here. She started traveling again. Then, 6 months later, she's delusional again. And I knew right away that it was probably that. So the doctor never listened to me, John, and I'll just be real brief. I went down there maybe 2 weeks before she passed, and they had her in a long-term care facility. And because of COVID, they wouldn't let me in.
Right.
And so I go around to the window, and as soon as she saw me, she said, that's my brother.
Oh, man.
And I went right back and flew her here. My doctor, Dr. Hattie Berry, bless his heart, chief of internal medicine at Beaumont and Dearborn, put her on a regimen for 3 days. We couldn't go see her. Gave her the most potent antibiotic you could find, but he couldn't defeat that infection, and she passed. And he said to me, and this is really interesting, he's Chaldean, that she did not have to die, and he sees too much of that because of the indifference of primary care physicians. And it's been documented with respect to African Americans. We have insurance, John. It's not like we don't have insurance. It's just that they're not as aggressive with us, which he believes speaks to the fact that they don't value our lives the same as others.
That's right. Black Lives Matter. Comes right back to that.
Yeah. So as a consequence of that, and her being really an educator, LaVon started out at Miller Junior High School, working on her master's, and then has been superintendent. Worked for Bill and Melinda Gates, proving that you could set up stellar and outstanding performing schools in urban areas if you have the right curriculum, the right approach. She demonstrated that I thought it was befitting to do something to honor her. And so we created the Dr. LaVon M. Sheffield Bridge Center Library. It's a place where there will be books on the shelves. One of the things I'm proud to tell you is that we're purchasing all these books. My dad's archives are now at Walter Reuther, and I've got all kind of stuff related to that. So there's going to be a lot of books about the Black trade union movement,
Oh,
the
yeah.
involvement of trade unionism in making civil rights successful, and books about people in Detroit. We have shelves of service on there where we have names of people like you. We got to put you on there. Where we actually have Warby Parker gave me a grant, and it's a really beautiful plaque, and your picture's there, living and dead, and it tells about what you did and how you contributed through service to making Detroit better. Yeah,
That'd be nice, The only halls of fame I'm in are in for track.
I hear you. Well, I got Bill Patrick up there, for example, first black council person in the city of
Bill
Detroit.
Patrick.
Geraldine Ford, first black judge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you ought to be in there too.
Well,
And your dad and your granddad.
yeah, my
and
my
Levon.
granddad and them all up there, 'cause, my grandparents were the two of 11 founding members of Tabernacle, where Dr. Frederick Sampson passed in New Light. But I take after my dad. My dad was a non-self promoter. And that generation
Yeah, he
of
was.
folks that I was around with
Very,
people.
very modest man.
Yeah, and they believe their responsibility was not to get stuff for themselves, but to open doors for others.
That's what it's all supposed to be
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
Your dad was a giant.
Yeah.
But giants can speak softly.
Yeah.
And that's what he did. My dad was a pro boxer. In fact, he was a little coal miner when he was 13. He's from Scotland. But he was a Walter Reuther bodyguard
Oh wow.
until he got fired from that job for
Right.
drinking. Those
Yeah,
Scots
yeah.
all drink. But let's get
Well,
back.
Walter Reuther needed a bodyguard because they shot him in his house over on Longfellow.
I don't think I knew that.
Yes, they shot him over on Longfellow, shot through the windows.
I know they were always threatening to kill Walter Reuther.
I mean, people have no idea how revolutionary the idea of those unions were back
Oh,
then.
yeah. You remember that Battle of the Overpass?
No question.
They pulled my father's coat over his head and kicked his teeth in.
Yeah.
In that thing.
Yeah.
He had a. But anyway, what's the next question?
Let's see. You told us about it. How will the center be used?
Well, right now we have a speaker series, and we've got some fascinating speakers. We just had Joe Madison. And before that, we had Mir Natson, who is Oprah Winfrey's personal chef, the Obama's personal chef, Jay-Z's personal chef. And it was really fascinating. We had a lot of young people. It's absolutely free. We've got Hill Harper coming April 26th.
Who's that?
Hill Harper, the movie star, he went to law school at Harvard. He's running for governor, but that's not why we have him
Not
coming.
here, though, right?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah. I mean for Senate.
Oh, okay.
So we also have Brittany Packnard Cunningham, who is out of Ferguson, who coined the phrase Black Lives Matter. We have Cornel West coming. We have Erica
Man,
Alexander,
Cornel West.
Good guy.
who did who did the movie for Good Trouble for John Lewis. DJ Search. We got a good number of folks. Right now, we're in the process of trying to solidify Donnie Simpson. Donnie Hathaway. He did. He
Right. That would be a
Let me
good
know
one.
about that one,
Yeah, that'd be real good.
Yeah,
Real good.
Yeah.
I'd come see that.
Yeah, I love Donnie Hathaway.
I
Yeah, I
do
love
too.
his music, Yeah. Hold on to the world as it spins around. Just don't let the spin get you down.
So tell us a little bit more about this new library.
No. The St. Augustine. What is that?
Well, okay. So that's all tied together. So, obviously, a building of that nature and the expense that we undertook to make it happen, we wanted to do some things consistent with what my sister's life was about. She was an educator. So they say Augustine down there is an HBCU founded by the Episcopal Church in like 1850 something. They were the first HBCU with its own accredited hospital and TV station. And so they're offering courses, three programs in that building. Right now, May 1st, we'll begin with a Master's of Public Administration. Got about 15 people in that cohort. And then beginning in the fall, there'll be a Master's of Public Health and a Bachelor's of Public Health. what's novel about the public health programs is because we have a clinic and money from Global Health and from Resolve to Save Lives and HRSA and HHS, those students will actually be involved in quasi-clinical settings where they'll be actually mapping social disparities of health involved in illness promotion and health, illness prevention and health promotion. So those programs I'm really excited about. In addition to that, Dr. Ivory's school is in Wayne County Community College District. Will be there. Some of their bachelor's programs will be led into by their associate programs in some of these same areas. And so that's, we also have, like I said, some of the black fraternities and sororities that are now meeting in that building. It's going to be a space where people can use. It's absolutely beautiful. It was built 100 years ago in December of 2022. We've put $750,000 into that building, and I tell you, you got to come see it. It is absolutely adorable.
You're watching WJZZ Cool TV, live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, and other top social media platforms. Like, follow, share, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. So you've got about 2 minutes.
How many minutes?
2 minutes. We've switched our thing, John. You've got about 2 minutes,
All right.
and
Okay.
I need you to tell me like what's coming up, what you want people to know.
Well, people can support all this great programming by coming down to the Music Hall on Thursday, April 27th for our live jazz concert with Mesa and Gerald Albright. Of course, Hill Harper is our MC and our host, and that enables us to raise money for the work that we do at the Sheffield Center. So, go to Ticketmaster or call 313-491-0003.
How much are the tickets?
They range. I mean, the most expensive ticket for VIP ticket is like $80, and they go down to I think $40.
It's the State of the Race concert
That's what it is.
at the Music Hall.
It's the Music Hall.
Okay, and when?
Thursday, April 27th at 8 p.m. Mesa, Gerald Albright, and there's some other artists that are part of that, but I'm not sure who all they are.
And that's to benefit.
Benefit all the programs, free pro. We charge nothing for any of our services. They're all absolutely free.
Can I do my poem?
Maybe. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. This poem is called Uncivil Warfare, and I wrote it on January the 6th, 2021. And the subtitle is The Turd That Hasn't Flushed.
Charlotte.
On this evil and fatal occasion of the Capitol building invasion, the traitor Trump's collusion demands his execution. God yet hasn't pushed the lever on the traitor Trump forever. And when he does, it's to be hoped the lever is that of the gas chamber.
Yeah.
But, I think many of us will just settle for the prison at Leavenworth if we can get that sucker in there
Thank
before
you
he
for
destroys
joining
what's
us.
left of this
And
democracy.
for disclaimer, John does not want to do that personally because we don't want the Secret Service coming to his house. That's
some
just
crazy
something he's
person.
saying.
Thank you for
You've
joining
been
us.
listening to the John Telford Detroit Show with Dr. John Telford and co-host Charlotte Jones on WJZZ Detroit Internet Television, coming to you live every Wednesday morning at 10 o'clock. Also streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Contact Dr. Telford at 313-460-8272. That's 313-460-8272. Or at Dr. John Telford, EDD, at AOL.com. That's DRJOHNTELFORDEDD at AOL.com to sponsor or appear on this show, or to get signed copies of his book, which Hill Perkins, Jeffrey Feiger, and Dr. Wayne Dyer all call spellbounding and sensational.
My man.
It was the late, great
Coach him
Dr. Wayne Dyer who said, Dr. John Telford has a warrior's heart and a poet's soul. Read Dr. Telford's commentaries on the schools and other vital topics
Well, here's the thing.
in the Telford Telescope column in the Detroit Native Sun newspaper. And also hear him on his other station, WCHB AM 1340, every Saturday morning at 9:30 and Monday evening at 6:30. That's every Saturday morning at 9:30 a.m. and Monday evening at 6:30 p.m. on WCHB AM 1340.